Shalom, giving all praises to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachahakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders at Great Millstone who rule well. And as always, we give peace and salutation unto the elect. And I just wanted to do a video, and I don't want to make it too long, but as you can see in the title, all right, Japheth being the current rulers of this beast system does not link up prophetically. And we're going to go through a few of the arguments that these guys who teach the doctrine that the so-called white race are actually the seed of Japheth present. And ultimately, we're going to follow the narrative of prophecy. A lot of times Israelites, they get too tit for tat in the flesh, all right? And they forget that the prophecies are the primary source, all right, of what we know and teach, okay? And we understand that not all men have the gift of prophecy, all right? And you have a lot of guys who for some reason are trying to disassociate the current rulers of this world with the biblical Edomites. Now, a lot of them are paid off. A lot of them really are afraid to confront this man to his face and tell him he's the Edomite. Some of them are just bugged out. And when you really follow the logic, they don't want this to be the end. Why do I say that? Prophetically, when we go into the Bible, what we find out about the Edomites is that they are the final rulership of the heathen that would rule in a world rulership, okay, before the Messiah returned. So this is the point. And I want you all to really listen to this closely. If the so-called white man is not the biblical Edomite, if the people who rule this beast system are not the Edomites, then that means we have a whole nother captivity to go into, and that this is not the end. Why do I say that? Let's get 2nd Esdras, the 6th chapter, and I'll start at the 7th verse. All right. Then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times? Or when shall be the end of the first? All right, the first world rulership. Because one thing we have to deal with is that both Jacob and Esau were promised the fatness of the earth. Now, the argument that these Japheth is the so-called white man guys take is that the fatness of the earth is not pertaining to a world rulership. Okay. Now, the question is this, you know, when Isaac tells Jacob that he's going to give him the dew of heaven from above and the fatness of the earth, is that just a piece of the earth that Jacob is going to rule under Yahweh Shai? Because that's how that blessing is going to be fulfilled. Okay. Or is it just Jerusalem or a strip of the earth? All right. Here in Genesis, the 27th chapter, okay, we see that Isaac blesses Esau after Jacob is blessed. And this is what he blessed him with. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, the control of the natural resources. Okay. But when you go into the prophecy, you find out that it was this fourth beast, which we'll get into, was a world domination, a rulership that ruled the entire planet Earth. Okay. Going into Daniel, the 7th chapter, Esau would have the fatness of the earth. Okay. Not Japheth, in the dew of heaven from above. All right. He would have control of the resources, and his word would be final. Okay. He would be blessed. Okay. There's only two nations that were to control the planet Earth. All right. And that will be Jacob and Esau. Esau is in his blessing. No other nation was promised this big of a rulership. Where in the scriptures can we find Japheth being tied to having this big, great blessing and living by the sword? Now, we'll go to what they bring out. All right. Because Japheth was, you know, given a large portion. All right. But when was he ruling with the sword? When did he have all of this friction with the Israelites. As a matter of fact, when you get Psalms, the 83rd chapter, I'll go right back to that. One thing you're going to notice, one thing you're going to notice is that when it brings up all of these different nations that have taken crafty counsel against thy people to cut off the name of Israel, okay, it starts with Edom, but what you're going to notice is that there are no Japhetic nations mentioned here. Okay, you have the tabernacle of Edom, the Ishmaelites, the Moabites, and so forth. But what you're going to find out is that Japheth isn't mentioned amongst these nations. Why is that? If they are the ones who currently rule this earth, why wouldn't they be mentioned here? But you know who is mentioned? Twice? Edom, and then you have Amalek, which is a descendant of Edom. Okay? Now, going back, why isn't Japheth mentioned there? But you know who is mentioned, along with a lot of other nations. It's not that we never had friction with Japheth, but the narrative of the Bible focuses on Jacob and Esau, all right, as arch enemies, man. And the scriptures tell us that Esau would at some point have the fatness of the earth and the dew of heaven from above. And they're saying this doesn't mean he's going to rule the earth. Well, we're going to get into the fourth beast. And by thy sword shalt thou live. Okay. Esau is tied to the sword. Okay. Let's get Revelation, the 6th chapter. Okay. Because we know Esau, Edom is associated with red. Revelation 6:4. And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword. Okay. We can link this to the biblical Edomites because the Romans were Edomites. Okay. And in Revelation, the 12th chapter, the Roman Empire is known as the Red Dragon. Okay. And there's various videos, various documents, and various things you can go into to link the Romans to the Edomites. There's books, there's all sorts of information out there, but we're going to stick prophetically. Okay. We're going to stick to the prophecy. So right here, he says, and by thy sword shalt thou live, and thou shalt serve thy brother. That happened under King David, and it's going to happen even on a larger, all right, magnitude when we get the kingdom. Why? Because when you go up to Jacob's blessing, what was Jacob's blessing? Verse 29, let people serve thee and nations bow down to thee. Be Lord over thy brethren. So Jacob is going to be Lord over his brethren. And who was his brother? The Edomites. And let thy mother's sons bow down to thee. So this is eventually going to happen in the kingdom of heaven. But prophecy, understanding what happened with King David, okay, the Edomites became his servants. See if we can find that. 2 Chronicles 18 and 13. 1 Chronicles 18 and 13. This is when David, took the kingdom, when he was, and he put garrisons in Edom, and all the Edomites became David's servants. Thus the Lord preserved David whithersoever he went. Okay. Now, there was a point, I believe it's in 1 Kings, the 18th chapter. We don't have to get it, where Esau, all right, got from under, all right, that dominion. Okay. And it shall come to pass when thou shalt have the dominion that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. All right. And this goes into history as well, because after the Dark Ages, all right, came what? The Renaissance period, where the Edomites were able to come from out of the caves and fulfill prophecy of Satan being loosed out of his prison. All right. Which would lead to the very end where we are now. Again, where is Japheth in prophecy? Now, going back here. So Esau, as we know, was promised at some point to have the fatness of the earth. Okay. Now, Let's go here. Second Esdras, the sixth chapter, and the seventh verse. Then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times, or when shall be the end of the first, and the beginning of it that followeth? And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. Okay? And that was symbolic of what? Esau is the end of the world, okay? Because we're going to take his ass down, all right, through Yahushai. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth, meaning our kingdom will come directly after the rulership of the Edomites. Okay, let's get the book of Obadiah. Okay, the book of Obadiah. Okay, and you can read this whole chapter, but the point we want to focus on is 21. Okay, and Savior shall come up on Mount Zion to judge the mount of Esau. Now we know in the scriptures, mountains and mounts represents governments or rulerships. Okay, and Savior shall come up on the Mount Zion, all right, where the temple was. Okay, it's Yahushai, all right, and the rest of the governing body to judge the mount of Esau, and the kingdom shall be the Lord's. So we know, according to the Bible, the final rulership that would rule before the kingdom was set up would be Esau. It would be ran by the Edomites. So if the argument is that the people who rule this earth now are Japheth, then we have a whole nother captivity that we're going to have to go into under Japheth. And show me prophetically where we would be ruled over in this fashion by the Japhites. Okay, let's get Lamentation, the 4th chapter. We're going to stick to prophecy, and you can go to various scriptures and link the Edomites with prophecy. All right, now a lot of you say, well, we're in Babylon the Great. This is Babylon the Great. You have people who teach that this is Babylon the Great, but at the same time they teach that the people who rule are Japheth. Well, when you go into the scriptures, let's get Psalms 137 real quick. Psalms 137 and 7. Remember, O Lord, the children of Edom. All right. Prepare slaughter for his children for the iniquity of their fathers. All right. Show me where David sung about getting revenge on Japheth. Even when David, all right, got his kingdom, all right, which eventually Solomon set on his throne, who did he rejoice over taking down? The children of Edom, Moab, and the Philistines. Although the Ammonites and there were other nations around about that he took down, the main enemy of the Israelites has always been the Edomites, the Moabites, the Hamites. You can never go into the scriptures and see a true struggle, all right, that's worth note between the Israelites and the Japhetic tribes. Okay? Remember, O Lord, the children of Edom in the day of Jerusalem, who said, raise it, even to the foundation thereof. O daughter of Babylon, who art to be destroyed. Happy shall he be that rewarded thee as thou hast served us. See? O daughter of Babylon. Okay, this is a prophecy. The daughter of Babylon is the Babylon that was written about, okay, in Revelation, the 18th chapter, Jeremiah, Isaiah, and various other prophecies as the last rulership that will be destroyed by fire. Now, the first Babylon goes back to Nimrod. Then you had not the daughter of Babylon, but you had the Neo-Babylonian Empire. And who took down the Neo-Babylonian Empire? The Medes, who were Japheth. We'll get that in just a second. O daughter of Babylon, who art to be destroyed, happy shall he be that rewarded thee as thou hast served us. Happy shall he be that taketh and dasheth thy little ones against the stone, because that's what they were doing to us. They helped, the Edomites helped, all right, the Babylonians to take us down. They helped to raid our temples. They helped them in afflicting us. And they were bashing our babies against the stones. And they did it in these times. They did it when they came over here to take down Gad. Okay, they headed, all right, the slave trades. They paid for the boats. Where in the hell can you find this sort of friction, okay, between the Japhites and the Israelites? We're looking at real life here. Now, Daniel, the 5th chapter, okay, the Babylonian Empire, the Neo-Babylonian Empire with Nebuchadnezzar, the Chaldees, who was it taken down by? Okay, Daniel chapter 5 and 28. Peres, thy kingdom is divided and given to the Medes, and the Persians. All right, so you have a Japhetic tribe and you have a Shemitic tribe, okay, which that fulfills that scripture that Japheth shall dwell in the tents of Shem. Okay, now, because they were dwelling amongst them in that rulership. All right, but the Medes, all right, the Hebrew word is Madya, all right, Media or Medes or Madai, middle land, all right, a people descended from the son of Japheth who inhabited the territory of Media, all right, land inhabited by the descendants of Japheth, okay, located northwest of Persia, all right. And who are the Persians? The Elamites, okay. That fulfilled Japheth, all right, dwelling in the tents of Shem, because the Persians are descendants of Shem, the Elamites. Also, you have the Neo-Assyrian Empire, all right. And if you go into that history, you know, the Babylonians, along with the Medes, okay, took down, you know, the Assyrian Empire, Nineveh, you know. So all of that prophecy, when you go into that history, you know, fulfills, you know, Japheth dwelling in the tents of Shem. You know, when people think Shem, they only think, all right, of Israel, who came out of that. But you have to understand he had, all right, more than one son, all right, and more than one nation came out of Shem. Matter of fact, I have a website here. Okay. The 5 sons of Shem, all right, Elam, Assur, Lud, Aram, and Arphaxad, which our father Abraham came out of. Okay. All right, but the Elamites are Shemites, and so did the Assyrians. All right. A lot of people think the Assyrians came out of Ham, but the Assyrians are actually descendants of Shem. All right. So that's why the scriptures say tent. Let me see if I can find that. Genesis 9 and 27. God shall enlarge Japheth, because they were given large regions, you know, Asia Minor, Europe, you know, Lesser Asia, all right, Armenia. As a matter of fact, I got a map here. Pull this up. Okay, this is all of Japheth's land. They got a very large proportion. Now, in the grand scheme of things, the whole world belongs to Israel. Okay, but for prophecy's sake, okay, the Lord, when he divided, all right, and gave the different nations their lands, he gave Japheth a very large portion, all right, which would eventually, all right, in a nutshell, get conquered, man, by the Edomites. You have the land of Ham, okay, Shem, okay, and Japheth. Japheth had a very large portion. I have another map here. See that? You know, all of this. Javon, Magog, this is all their land. Gomer. Okay. Now, the Edomites conquered these lands. These lands originally belonged to the seed of Japheth, which were a dark-skinned people. Okay. And you can look up the Minoans, the Etruscans, okay, and go into the original inhabitants of these lands. But they were conquered by the Edomites, okay, who ultimately put, you know, their twist on history when you go into it. They'll never tell you this. You can actually go, okay, to see, I have this website here, okay, the Minoans. And when you look up the Minoans, you can clearly see that they're dark-skinned people. Now, this is a website called realhistorywww.com. And when you go, if you want to get the true history on the original inhabitants of this land, they go in. Okay, here you see the civilization of black. Now, when you say black, that doesn't mean they're Israelites, but they were a melanated, dark-skinned people. Okay, that's why when dealing with color, you know, Esau, Edom, all right, was called the red man. You know, when Jacob came out, you know, they didn't mention his color, but Esau, all right, who had that mark on him, ultimately would be, all right, a people without melanin. Now, they spread their seed, you know, throughout the four corners of the earth. So therefore, you have a lot of people who are going to come looking like these different nations and lighter in complexion. All right. Then you can look up the Etruscans as well. Okay. The Etruscans. All right. You know, the Hawaiians and all of them, go back to all of that, man. And you can just look up this history and get that understanding if you want to, man. Okay. Good history site, you know. And they show you on this site too how they whitewashed images and lied. And the Greeks were known for that. Okay, as a matter of fact, when you get the book of First Maccabees 3, okay, First Maccabees 3 and 48, it tells you what? That the Greeks laid open the book of the law, all right, wherein the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their images. And a lot of you people say, where can we find in the Bible, all right, that the so-called white man stole the identity of the Japhethites? Well, all you have to do, all right, is go into prophecy. They would conquer lands. Let's get the book of Micah, the 2nd chapter. Okay, the wicked, Micah 2, all right, and I'll just go to the second, I'll start at 1. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hands. Okay, and they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man in his house. They remove landmarks, even a man in his heritage. You see that? And your heritage is deeply associated with your landmass. Okay? And as you read down, okay, and the power is in their hands. You see? The earth has been given into the hand of the wicked. Okay? Therefore, thus saith the Lord, behold, against this family do I devise an evil, which ye shall not remove your necks, neither shall ye go haughtily, for this time is evil. In that day shall one take up a parable against you, and lament with the doleful lamentation, and say, we be utterly spoiled. He hath changed the portion of my people. How hath he removed it from me? Turning away, he hath divided our fields. Now, who's this talking about? Who did that? Okay, the book of Habakkuk, when prophesying the final kingdom he would raise up, okay, to end it all, How did he describe them? Okay. How did he describe them? Now you have to understand this in spirit because this is prophecy. And we know in Isaiah the 47th chapter, it calls the daughter of Babylon also the daughter of the Chaldeans, because Babylon the Great would take upon the very same magic and witchcraft and sleight of hand, the same thing that the Chaldeans did. All right. So this is Habakkuk verse 1 and 6. For lo, I raise up the Chaldeans, that bitter and hasty nation, which shall march through the breadth of the land to possess the dwelling places that are not theirs. Okay. Now, when you understand prophecy, Habakkuk is asking, when will this all end? Okay. It didn't end with the Lord raising up the Chaldeans. It's going to end through the biblical Edomites, who, when you keep reading, okay, the vision, all right, that is yet for an appointed time, okay, verse 6, as you go into the prophecy, it says, shall not all these take up a parable against him? Who? The Edomite. All right. Now, one will say, well, what does it say Esau? Well, you have to understand prophecy, because Habakkuk, all right, is asking, when will it all end? As we showed you, and we'll show you more, the Edomites are how this is all going to end. Through Esau would the end of the heathen rule be, in injustice in the earth and all of this wickedness. Okay? Shall not all these take up a parable against him and a proverb against him, which is happening now, and say, woe to him that increaseth, all right, that which is not his. How long? So Esau took these lands, man. He took the lands of Japheth. Okay? He took the lands of Japheth. Okay, which is why when you read about Gog and Magog in prophecy, it's talking about Russia. Who inhabits that land now? Okay, Edomites. They pushed out the dark nations and conquered these lands. I mean, do you not understand history? Do you not know how this man got to where he is? Okay. So, yes, Japheth was given a large portion. Okay. But as you go, even going back to, let's go to Esau's blessing here. We'll read this here. This is Genesis 9 and 27. God shall enlarge Japheth. Okay. And he did. He gave him a large portion. This is not meaning that he will rule the whole entire planet Earth. This is what their breakdown is. That because he enlarged Japheth, this is Esau, the man ruling the earth today, right now, and this beast system is fulfilled in this. No, there's far more to this beast system, and it's explained all throughout prophecy. Okay, and you just don't have the understanding. And he shall dwell in the tents of Shem. We broke that down. That goes into history, all right, of their different rulerships and conquest and where they would be. And Canaan shall be his servant. Now, going to Genesis, the 27th chapter, when we look at Esau's blessing, okay, what do we find out? Genesis 27. Okay, and 39. And Isaac his father answered him and said, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth and the dew of heaven from above. And by thy sword shalt thou live and serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass when thou shalt have the dominion. Now let's look up this word dominion. Okay. Esau's dominion, and the way things are worded in the English, it's all a snare. Okay. Rawad, to wander restlessly, to roam. Okay. And as you go into prophecy, what you find out is, what did he do? He went through the four corners of the earth, Revelation 20 and 7. And when 1,000 years are expired, Satan, now is this an actual lizard on the earth, a big red lizard? No. The seed of Satan are the biblical Edomites, the wicked, which were used to fulfill, all right, some serious prophecy. and to be the devil on earth, man. He shall be loosed out of his prison, going into the Renaissance period. Before the Renaissance period, you had the Byzantine Empire, where he was what? He was shut up. He wasn't able to spread his lies, all right, and people knew that he was not to be, touched, trusted, and they pushed him into the caves, right? But he was loosed out of his prison for the purpose of prophecy. And what did he do? And shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth. And then what is it going to lead to? Gog and Magog, which when you go to the actual landmass, originally, these lands were inhabited by Japhetic people, but they were eventually conquered by who? Edomites, okay, which they're going to lead the charge, okay, to ultimately destroy Babylon the Great in World War III, to gather them together to battle, the number is whom is as the sand of the sea. Okay? Because Revelation 13, all right, tells you that he had power over all the nations on the earth. All right? Verse 7, Revelation 13, and power was given unto him over all of the kindreds and tongues and nations. What do you think he's going to do when he gets power over you? You think he's going to allow, all right, you, just like right now in South Africa, who's there? The Edomites there. Okay, so these are things you have to take into consideration, and there's so many more things we can go into, but I really wanted to focus on prophecy in this lesson, because in Daniel the 7th chapter, okay, it gives you the four major empires. It gives you the four major empires that will rule, all right, and be responsible for scattering the Israelites. All right. And in Daniel the 7th chapter, if you follow Daniel the 7th chapter, the question to you all, who controls the fourth beast? What nation of people control this fourth beast? Because actually even the third beast, all right, were Edomites, the Greeks. But the fourth beast, we would love to ask you, what nation of people controls that fourth beast? Because through that fourth beast comes the end. As the scriptures say, Esau is the end of the world. Okay? Let's go back to that. Salakia. Second Ezra 6 and 9. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that follow it. All right. So automatically, going by Daniel's prophecy in Daniel the 7th chapter, we have to consider and understand that Esau is the end of the world. Esau is the final rulership of the heathen. Esau is the last captivity of the Israelites. Let's get that. Lamentations, the 4th chapter. Lamentations 4 and 21. Rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, that dwellest in the land of Uz. The cup shall also pass through unto thee. Thou shalt be drunken and shall make thyself naked. All right. The punishment of thine iniquity in Uz is just a land that they conquered. And this is just symbolic of the Edomites. They conquered the earth through what? The sword, according to Isaac, man. So rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, that dwelleth in the land of Uz. The cup also shall pass through unto thee, and thou shalt be drunken and make thyself naked. Okay, why isn't this talking about the daughter of Japheth? Or where's Japheth prophesied to rule over us and to suffer this great judgment? Where is it at? See, when you stick to the prophets, when you stick to the script, then there's no way around it. But when you start getting into their little tit for tats with this point and the DNA, and they call themselves the Ashkenazi Jews. Now, does that make sense? How can you be Ashkenazi and Jew? Ashkenaz is a descendant of Japheth. The Jews are the descendants of Shem. It is confusion. So we stick to the scriptures here, man. Now, brothers and apostles and elders have done videos going into some beautiful history, and we'll repost those. But I'm going to stick to the prophecies, man. The punishment of thine iniquity is accomplished, O daughter of Zion. Through who? The Edomites, not the Japhites. He will no more carry thee away into captivity. He will visit thine iniquity, O daughter of Edom. He will discover thy sins. And when you go prophetically, the Edomites are mentioned more than any other nation, okay, in the Bible. Why? Because they are the ones who will fulfill, all right, having the fatness of the earth by the sword. They are the ones who rule Babylon the Great, you see, which is spoken of in Revelation, okay, the 18th chapter, man. Okay, because as you go into Daniel, the 7th chapter, it talks about this fourth beast. We're not going to read it all. Okay, with 10 horns. All right, but it talks about in verse 8, I considered the horns, and beheld, there came up among them another little horn, whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. Okay, you had the Spanish, the French, or the French, the Spanish, and the British. Forget the order. Out of the British came what? The 13 colonies, okay, which is this little horn, which led to what? The America being established. Okay? And they put hell on our people, man. Okay, so he beheld this little horn, all right, and in this horn with eyes like a man, because they're just men, but they parade themselves around as if they're God, in a mouth speaking great things. Okay, so the question is, if you're saying Japheth rules this current world and that this is Babylon, prophetically, according to Daniel, the 7th chapter, according to the scriptures we're bringing out, can you link Japheth to any of this? No. Okay. You can link Esau to all of this. Now, the beauty of it is I beheld till the thrones were cast down. Okay. And the Ancient of Days did sit. So the end of the heathen rulership would be through this kingdom. And what would this kingdom do? We're going to read down. So the Most High is going to set judgment and send his son to this rulership. This is why the scriptures focus Isaiah 63 on the Edomites. Isaiah 63:1. Who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Basra? Okay, because the Messiah is returning to destroy an Edomite ruled kingdom. Okay, and we're going to get more into that fourth beast that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength, because the chariots are going to return. Yahushua is going to be on that chariot, and this is speaking of Yahushua. I that speak in righteousness, mighty to save. Nowhere do you see Japheth. Okay, and this is speaking of salvation, man. Verse 4, for the day of vengeance is in my heart, and the year of my redeemed is come. Who's he going to redeem? The Israelites out of the hands of their enemies. Who's their enemies? The Edomites and all of the different nations. But the main nation are the Edomites. Verse 8, for he said, surely there are my people, children that will not lie, the elect. So he was their savior. So this is speaking of the savior coming to deliver us out of the hand of the Edomites. Isaiah 34. Okay, Isaiah 34:5. For my sword shall be bathed. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea and upon the people of my curse to judgment. Japheth are not the people of his curse to judgment. But the thing is this, if you hold to the fact that the people ruling this current system, because a lot of you say this is Babylon. So if you say that Japheth runs this modern day Babylon, that means we have to look forward to another captivity under Edom. This fourth beast that we read about in Daniel, the 7th chapter, as you read down, okay, this is who Yahushua is going to return to. Okay, let's go to verse 11. All right. I beheld then, because of the voice of the great words, which the horn, okay, that horn is an extension of the fourth beast, which is the Roman Empire. This is the last leg of that fourth beast, Roman Empire. Everybody always talks about how America is Rome all over again. Well, we're reading that in prophecy. Okay. And this horn spake great words through his pseudoscience, through his lies, through what they said about us, through what they put out there. You know, it's not just male and female. There's all of these different genders. They put out a whole bunch of confusion. Okay. I beheld even to the beast was slain and his body destroyed and given to the burning flame. All right. As concerning the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away, yet their lives were prolonged for a season and a time, because the only heathen nation that's going to be absolutely decimated are the Edomites. Okay, but the rest of these beasts, which are these heathen nations, all right, they're going to have their power and their rulerships taken away, but they'll just be, all right, subject to our rulership and our laws. But Esau is going to be done away with. But that's another lesson for another time. And I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven. Now, the reason I'm bringing this all out is because he is returning to that little horn ruling, which when we go into it, that is a world rulership. It's not just, all right, a region of the earth. No, that fourth beast, all right, it started out as the Roman Empire. But as prophecy was fulfilled, that system, that beast system, would run the whole entire planet Earth, man. Now, of course, within that rulership is flawed. They catch hell. Okay, but the bottom line is that this beast system rules the world, man. You're divided. Okay. Now, as you read down, for the sake of time, all right, we'll jump to verse 24. Okay. 23, because it's speaking of the fourth beast. Now, the fourth beast is the Roman Empire. Okay, what nation of people were the Romans? Okay, now the Apostle Tahar just did a video, proof that the Romans were Edomites. Okay, it's still up, but they may take this video down. And there's so many proofs that the Romans were Edomites. Okay, the Herodian dynasty was headed by who? Antipater the Idumean. Okay, the Romans were Edomites. The Greeks were Edomites who conquered the Japhetic lands and nations and started to call themselves after the Greek. The original Greeks were not Edomites. The original Greeks, all right, go back to the Etruscans, all right, and the Japhetic tribes. All right. But that's another lesson for another time. We'll get into all of that in a minute. All right. Now, Daniel, the 7th chapter, we know that you had the fourth beast, but out of the fourth beast will come another little horn. And it's speaking about that. This is the revival of the Roman Empire. When you read Revelation, the 13th chapter, it talks about another beast coming up out of the earth. Okay, who had two horns like a lamb and spake as a dragon. That is Babylon the Great. Okay, which would bring, all right, the ways of Rome back. Okay, but it all goes back to the Renaissance period. The Renaissance period led to America, Babylon the Great. Okay, now, when you read about this fourth beast in that little horn, what would it do? It says, and he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints. Then has not that happened here in this rulership? So you mean to tell me this ain't the end, and that Japheth must rise, and that we go through a whole nother captivity? Where prophetically does it describe the captivity that the Israelites would face under the Japhetic people in this magnitude? We would love to see those answers. and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given unto his hand a time, and a dividing of times. Okay, that time period where we had no idea who we were, and he was able to just have his way. He became the richest nation in kingdom, all right, the world has ever seen through what? The slaves, man. Through basically trading and giving gifts one to another, as it talks about in Revelation 11. But the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion to consume and destroy it. Okay, so this fourth beast is a world rulership. Now let's prove that. Okay, this is Second Esdras 11. Give me 1 second here. Second Esdras 11, and I'll start at Give me 1 second here. Man, this is a lot. 37. I beheld, lo, as it were a roaring lion chased out of the wood, and I saw that he sent a man's voice unto the eagle. So this is Yahushua speaking, all right, to the eagle. And who's the eagle associated with in the scriptures prophetically? Japheth or Esau? Esau. Okay. And he said, hear thou, I will talk with thee. Okay. And we know Yahushua is the lion. And the highest shall say unto thee, art thou not it that remainest of the four beasts whom I have made to reign in my world? Okay. Now we know of the four beasts, okay, of the four beasts that are spoken of in Daniel, the Japhetic people, okay, are, see where the Japhetic people come in at. Right here, verse 7 and 5, and I beheld a beast, all right, a second like unto a bear, and it raised itself up on one side. That was the Medes. Okay, and it had three ribs in the mouth of it. Lydia, Babylon, and Egypt, I believe, were the nations that were conquered, all right, by the Medes, but they took down the Babylonian Empire, man. Okay. The Persians and the Medes, but it was the Medes who ruled first, but they were dwelling amongst the Persians. You see that? In the tents of Shem, because the Persians are a Shemitic people, all right, the Elamites. Okay, but this is the Japhetic tribes ruling according to the Bible right here. All right, who came and took down that empire, the Persians and the Medes? The Greeks. The Greeks, man, which were Edomites, because it was the Greco-Roman Empire, man. So what are you saying? Japheth took down Japheth? I don't get it. Either way it goes, because nations did war against one another. Don't get it wrong, because there was even war against the children of the Greeks, and the Romans were having wars. But this is the thing. Another quick point. When you get First Maccabees 4, who are we warring with? Who are we warring with? We were warring with the Greeks. All right. But Hanukkah, okay, which is coming up, it's associated with what? Verse 61, 2nd Esdras 4 and 61. And they set there a garrison to keep it, and fortified Bethsura to preserve it, that the people might have a defense against Idumea, because the Greeks are the Edomites. Here it is. Where the hell is Japheth? All of these wars between the Israelites and Idumea, but you very rarely see a narrative of war back and forth against Esau and Japheth. This is why that doctrine doesn't hold up. Prophetically is why it doesn't hold up. Okay? But going back here, this is linked directly to Daniel, the 7th chapter, man. See? This what we're reading in 2nd Esdras, the 11th chapter, is linked directly to what we read in Daniel, the 7th chapter. As a matter of fact, he says it to him. Okay? Let me see if it's in this chapter. Vision that thy brother Daniel saw, man. No, I just want the word Daniel. Let's see here. Second Edges 12 and 11. The eagle whom thou sawest come up from the sea is the kingdom which was seen in the vision of thy brother Daniel. Okay? Which is the fourth beast. Let's read about this fourth beast, Salakia. I'm all over the place, but it's a lot of points. There's even more points, man. Okay? So the lion, through a voice, is speaking unto this eagle, okay? Which are the Edomites, man. And what did he say? Verse 39, are not thou it that remainest of the four beasts whom I made to reign in my world, that the end of their times might come through them? Wait a minute. Esau is the end of the world. The fourth beast is the end of their times. It's the same thing. So by default, we would have to understand that Esau is the ruler of this last heathen empire. Didn't the scripture say then that Jerusalem shall be trodden down, all right, of the Gentiles, until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled? We're living at that time where their time is up. This is the last heathen rulership. And according to prophecy, it would be through Esau. But then there's other things. The fourth beast, Babylon the Great. You have to tie all of these things together, man. Are not thou it that remainest of the four beasts whom I made to reign in my world, that the end of their times might come through them? And the fourth came and overcame all the beasts that were past, and had power over the world with great fearfulness. Now we know the Roman Empire territory was not the whole world. All right. However, as prophecies fulfilled, the Roman Empire did have control over the whole world through what? Through what? Babylon the Great, the NATO and the EU, which is this beast system, man. Okay? Esau's rulership and blessing was not just a portion of the earth, as you all say, to downplay what we're saying in prophecy. Because we ask the question, well, when was the prophecy of Esau having the fatness of the earth fulfilled? And they say, well, the fatness of the earth ain't talking about the whole world. That's just saying that he would have resources. He would do that. But they'll never show you Japheth having the fatness of the earth. What they'll go to is that Japheth had a large portion of land that he was given. Well, did he attain it by the sword? Anyway, and over the whole compass, north, south, east, west of the earth, with much wicked oppression, because he would do it by the sword, and so long time he dwelt he upon the earth with deceit. For the whole earth hast thou not judged with truth, for thou hast afflicted the meek, thou hast hurt the peaceable. Okay, and Esau actually conquered and destroyed the Japhetic people, the Polynesians. Okay, the Australians. You see, what happened to them was a result of biblical prophecy. Because when you read Revelation, the 13th chapter, this beast, which started with the leopard, going back to Daniel, the 7th chapter, the Greeks was the head of this beast system. It's another thing we forgot to say. All right. It started with the Greeks, who are known as the leopard in Daniel's vision. All right. Now, as you keep reading, Verse 7, and it was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them, and power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. This is speaking of that beast. That beast system eventually would have power over all the nations. So that would be done through the fourth beast and that little horn that came from it, man. For that has hurt the peaceable, that has loved liars, that has destroyed the dwellings of them that brought forth fruit. Where does it say Japheth would do all of this? Nowhere, but it said Esau would do all of this in various places, man. Okay? By name, directly and symbolically, as things like Egypt, as things like they call him the what's that? The magicians. All right, the Chaldeans. He's under that name in Habakkuk. There's various places. But at the end of the day, you have to have the spirit, which is what you guys lack. And has cast down the walls of such as did thee no harm. Therefore is thy wrongful dealing come up to the highest, and thy pride unto the mighty. Now, what does it say in Revelation, the 18th chapter, man? Your sins have reached up to heaven, man. What we're reading about, this fourth beast and the little horn that came from it, is where we're living now. Revelation 18:5, for her sins have reached up to heaven, and God hath remembered her iniquities. Are you willing to do a video and say that Japheth rules Babylon the Great? I would love to see that. Or is this Babylon the Great? Maybe you don't believe that this is Babylon the Great. Because if this ain't Babylon the Great, that means this, whatever the hell kingdom this is, according to Daniel's vision, has to fall. And somewhere, somehow, Babylon, because everything written has got to be fulfilled. Verse 44, the highest has looked upon the proud times, and behold, they are ended, and his abominations are fulfilled, what he was set up to do. And therefore appear no more, thou eagle, nor thy horrible wings, nor thy wicked feathers, nor thy malicious heads, nor thy hurtful claws, nor all thy vain body. All right, because you're going to be burned, that all the earth may be refreshed and may return, being delivered from thy violence. All right, and that she may hope for the judgment and mercy of him that made her. So this is all going to happen via the end of Esau, via the end of Babylon, via the end of the Chaldeans, via the end of the fourth beast. And you can link all of those things up prophetically in even more ways than what I've just brought out. So the burden of proof is on you to prophetically go into the Bible and link Daniel's vision, Revelation 18, Isaiah 47, and everything else to the Japheth. And you're going to make a goddamn fool out of yourself. You see? Esau is the end of the world. Babylon is the end of the world. Revelation 19:2, for true and righteous are his judgments, for he hath judged the great whore, which did corrupt the earth with her fornication, and hath avenged the blood of his servants at her hand. So are you willing to say that Revelation, the 18th chapter, because just as Egypt was ran by the Egyptians, Babylon the Great has a nation that rules it. This beast system, okay, let's see here. Where were we? Like Revelation 13. This beast system is ran by a nation of people, man. Beast. Therion, metaphorically a brutal, bestial, savage man. So this beast system is ran by a particular nation, man. Prove that it's Japheth. Prove it. Lord willing, more to come. We ain't finished. Shalom.